dear Vice Chancellor of University of Technology and the Art of Byumba, distinguished guests, dear researchers, dear presenters, today on the 20th July 2022, it's an honor and a pleasure to the University of Technology and the Art of Byumba to host this workshop on science and technology and management organized by UTAB, University of Technology and the Art of Byumba, in collaboration with the University of Parma. Then I would like to begin by presenting the agenda of the day so that we may proceed following it. So we will begin by the prayer, which will be held by Dr. Father Lucien Hakizimana. We will continue with the welcome remarks and the official launch of this workshop by the UTAB Vice Chancellor. Then we start with the presentation, by which we will start by the one of Dr. Lucien Hakizimana called Waste Management and Circular Economy. We continue with the topic called Sustainable Systems for Slope Stabilization by Professor Roberto Valentino. Then we proceed by the topic called Soil Erosion, the Geomorphological Perspective by Professor Alessandro Schelli. Then we proceed with the topic called The World of the Future, Blockchain and the Use of Technology by Mr. Alexis Havgimana. Then we follow by the topic of Professor Emma Petrella called Groundwater, a Hidden Resource to Protect. Then we proceed by a young woman called Yvonne Iladukunda with her topic called Automatic Irrigation System for Greenhouses. We proceed with the topic of Sazavera Fabien called the Synthesis of a Solid Mixed Microbiome, Biofertilizer and Study of its Characterization. Then we go to Mr. Bizimong Jean-Baptiste with his topic called E-Payment System and Trade Improvement. Then we proceed with the young man called Mr. Rutikanga Amon with his topic called Electricity Consumption Management System and Economic Management. Lastly, but not least, the man called Mr. Nhakirutimana Emmanuel will present his topic called Challenges and Ethical Aspects of Artificial Intelligence in Rwandan Basic Education. Our workshop will end with a closing remark by the UTAB Vice Chancellor of this university. So please, I welcome you, and I would like to invite Father Dr. Sen for the prayer.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Holy Father, thank you for have sent your Son Jesus to save us. Thank you to have given us the Holy Spirit to maintain us into your love. Thank you for your love you filled in our hearts. From this love, we can love each other regardless the long geographical distances like what you are experiencing today. A love which can generate intellectual growth, building the world which can please you. We present to you our universities. Bless our intentions of working together and always come to our help. Our collaboration be a way of discovering new knowledge, new technologies, and sharing good practices. Helped by your Holy Spirit, guide us into a wide world of knowledge, science, technology, and a good management of the world you entrusted us. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you for using better our time. Allow me to invite Father Dr. Gilbert Munana, the Vice Chancellor of this University of Technology and the Art of Byumba, for a welcome remarks. Please.
Dear Professor Roberto Valentino, Professor Alessandro Celli, Professor Emma Petrola, dear Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic and Research in our university, UTAB, dear Director of Corporate Services at UTAB, dear UTAB researchers and presenters in this workshop, dear deans and directors, dear participants in this workshop, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of UTAB community and on my own behalf, I am pleased to convey to you all and to each of you our sincere greetings. Good morning and welcome at UTAB. Feel at home. It is a great pleasure and honor to host this international workshop organized by UTAB in collaboration with University of Parma in the framework of ENRED project. This event is and will be the landmark of UTAB history and the ever-escalating journey to its heights. During this international workshop on science, technology, and management, various topics will be presented and discussed. I cannot repeat different topics they presented us. Dear researchers, dear participants, our protocol observed, all topics are in the close line of the vision of our institution to become a radiating university of academic and professional excellence for sustainable socio-economic development. Furthermore, technology is the major orientation of UTAB and one of the priorities of the Vision 2050 of the government of Rwanda. As you know, by 2035, the use of technology is expected to position Rwanda among the leading African countries in technology and innovation. And why not position UTAB among national and international leading higher learning institutions? This is our dream. I can tell you this is our dream, to put technology in our programs. In this line, UTAB intends to open a new faculty of technology and wishes that after this workshop not be the last. We are preparing different programs to submit to Higher Education Commission for having a fourth faculty, the Faculty of Technology. So, you know, the name University of Technology and the Arts has to have a content, not only the name. And this is a need, not only for us, but also for the community and for the country. This workshop will certainly shape the quality of the education we deliver and foster community-oriented researchers, among many others. Dear guests, dear participants in this workshop, ladies and gentlemen, I once more welcome you and wish everybody to enjoy and maximize the most benefits and the outcomes you can. With these few remarks, I am honored to declare this workshop open. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor of the University of Technology and the Art of Byumba. So please, audience, researchers, presenters, and distinguished guests, this is an opportunity for us to get knowledge from the topics that are going to be presented. So please allow me to welcome Father Dr. Lucia Kizimana for his presentation called Waste Management and Circular Economy. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Last time with the University of Parma, I presented a topic related to gastronomy. And today, I'm going to present another topic which is in somehow linked to the previous topic. The topic that I'm presenting today is waste management and the circular economy, because the waste from the industries that process gastronomic products, or the waste from institutions, waste from households, should be managed in order to generate income. Outline of my presentation. First of all, I am going to present the rationale of this research, objectives, activities, and outcomes and output, stakeholders and benefits to stakeholders and others. First of all, the necessity of a training center related to gastronomic center, as I presented last time. Institutions in several sub-Saharan African countries are faced with the problem of waste management. For instance, in Rwanda, the statistics show that 61% of the institutional wastes are organics. Furthermore, in many institutions, liquid waste management is still a challenge. Disposal of solid waste resulted in the pollution of downstream water bodies, negatively affect people's health and pollute environment. Electronic wastes also negatively affect the environment and people's health. This is due to dumping of end life of computers or some parts of computers and other electronic devices. Those devices contain numerous toxic chemicals that affect environments and crops that people can consume. For instance, arsenic, antimony, beryllium, cadmium, chromium, and organic compounds of chlorine and bromine. Some wastes could be managed by converting them into value-added products such as energy. Here we have renewable energy. Somehow I'm tackling on that option, which can be improved in producing energy, compost, fertilizer, recycled plastics, etc. Thus, sustainable waste management would require partnership between institutions and the training center. A circular economy would be a solution to minimize waste, making it income generating. The emphasis could be put on practice and experiential learning with industrial placement that trains on the proposed circular business model and also implement the model through pilot projects supported by business information system. This is the chain that you can follow with the funds and resource. This project can create employability and skills, also to enlarge the market, enlarge the knowledge, constant education, solution-oriented methods, placement resources, operational approach, sustainable goals, and then operational excellence. Some objectives of this center which can operate under gastronomic center. The first objective is to, the main objective of this project is to create a business model center on the circular economy by channeling the organic wastes produced into compost production for soil improvement and increase the agricultural productivity. Specific objectives: to assess and define partnerships methodologies, and content in the frame of dual learning. Dual learning here, to understand by dual learning that it is learning and practices together in the domain of waste management. To co-design activities to shape and frame the modules according to Rwandan context. To test and evaluate the designed program for the training. Some activities, the first activities are workshops. Secondly, research, whereby the secondary data should be evaluated. And then national and international exchanges, because we have to see other practices, other centers, how they are operating, in order to copy some good practices from them and implement them in our Rwandan context. Some outcomes of this project, and I repeat it, which is under agricultural and gastronomic center. Development-related professional networks between the participating university staff and industry partners are established. The second outcome, expertise in dual learning approaches for UTAP and partners is acquired. Labor market relevant teaching modules in the frame of sustainable entrepreneurship in the waste management sector. And then business information system elective programs are developed. New teaching, stakeholders, engagement techniques, and assessment methods are implemented. Partner institutions offer labor market that match the local context. Here I can repeat that today employability is a problem worldwide, so everything that should be done should tackle on the increase of employability. Output to contacts between UTAB and industry partners are expanded and consolidated. The second output, UTAB researchers, stakeholders, and students are engaged in short-term exchange. 3, integration of existing modules based on dual learning. A new module is defined with all the stakeholders. Testing of online participation of all partners. Online participation from all partners is tested and some exchanges are facilitated. A new curriculum is defined in collaboration with the stakeholders. Curriculum, of course, which can help implementation of this sub-center, because a center already has been studied, a center of agriculture and gastronomy, which is in this starting period. Now it is a sub-center in order to manage the wastes and generate income from the waste under that center. Partner institutions offer labor market that match the local context and the test of research. The stakeholders, now we start with the stakeholders which are surrounding here this university. The first is Urwibutso Sina Gerard. They have they have many activities and many wastes, of course. And this waste, we have to help them to manage this waste in order to produce income from the wastes. We have a VAF, Vision Agribusiness Farm. We have a Murindi Tea Factory. It is a big factory which produces tea, and this tea is exported. And the wastes from that tea factory, they are not used. In this context, they can be used in order to produce other income and to create employability. We have also Centre de Perfectionnement et de Promotion Agricole, CPPA. This is Kisalo. They have also a huge plantation of diverse plants, but the management can be, they can learn from UTAB how to manage the wastes. Benefits to the stakeholders, to the companies on their side, there is they improve their competencies, they can create network, culture of exchange, learn how to benefit from the waste. On the side of our students and other trainees, of course, to improve their competencies, to develop their skills, to create a network for their future employability, culture of exchange, thinking and acting with an entrepreneurial mind. A benefit to others. The first benefit, other institutions will be able to access to module online and be capable to collaborate with UTAB. The second benefit, other institutions will learn how to increase their income based on waste and will increase employability, solving the problem of unemployment that is everywhere in the world. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Dear audience, researchers, presenters, distinguished guests, I think that applaud is very less. Considering the work that Dr. Father Lucian Hakizimana has done, I would like to require you a more applaud for him. So now, as you mentioned your kind attention, and that I thank you, I would like to invite Professor Roberto Valentino for his presentation of the topic called Sustainable Systems for Slope Stabilization. Thank you and welcome. Yes.
It's much better for me to stay here. Is it possible? If possible, I prefer. Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for your participation to this event. Many thanks to UTAB to host this event in the framework of our NRED project. As you see, the relationship between our institution, the University of Parma, and UTAB is becoming stronger and stronger, and we are very happy for that. So let's start with the presentation dealing with sustainable systems for soil stabilization. You should know that last week, in the same framework of the NRED project, we had the summer school related to the problem of landslides at IPRC Musanze. A representative of UTAB attended the summer school, and it was related to the problem of landslides in Rwanda. You know that Rwanda is deeply affected by many types of landslides, and please go further. We asked to ourselves if there is any possibility to solve, at least to study and to solve this kind of problem. Okay? Okay? Is it possible then to adopt sustainable systems for soil stabilization? Normally, under the point of view of a geotechnical engineer, in these cases, it is needed to stabilize slopes with different solutions, mainly retaining walls and other kinds of heavy structures like piles and something like that. But we wonder if it is also possible to adapt other systems, at least for shallow rainfall-induced landslides. Okay, we can see normally sustainable systems are under the name of bioengineering. Bioengineering deals with engineering purposes, obviously, and can be applied with lower costs than common retaining engineering structures. Number two, what bioengineering is. Bioengineering deals with a sustainable technique for landslides, risk management and prevention. It can be used before and also after the landslide occurrence, and also for different situations. As you see here, we have a past landslides without plants because the shell of soil has been removed by the occurrence of the shell of landslide, but the soil should be restored, and also stabilization should be restored by using new plants. Number three, philosophically, bioengineering also represents the linkage between human rationality and nature. Bioengineering provides a safer environment for people and enhances biodiversity if applications are well built, as you see here, as a progressive situation of the same place, starting from a bare place to a place where different kinds of plants and also to plants, even animals are connected, we can respect the natural biodiversity. Let's go further, please. How soil bioengineering is applied. In Italy, we use living plants as materials, and they may be herbs or shrubs with good adaptation characteristics. At first, when the plants are very, very small, are very young, small piles, cages, or soil itself are adapted to help the first rooting period. And the perspective is to initiate a natural colonization process which will continue alone. The main and most important characteristic is that all the applications should be totally adaptable to the environment. Only biodegradable materials and local plants are used by taking into account soil and lithology. It is not appropriate to implant species of plants coming from abroad, but it is much more effective to plant native plants. Okay, further. Then we can use different materials, like dead material, it means wooden trunks, living plants, and also auxiliary materials, especially for erosion prevention. All those materials are included in the so-called soil structural bioengineering, which could be applied to pits, slopes, and embankments, and on the other side, also to rivers. Okay? Is it applied everywhere? Unfortunately, no. At least not in the sustainable way. Why? Because in some cases, landslides involve very deep soil layers. In those cases, plants are not enough to stabilize the slopes. In that cases, we need structural engineering structures, obviously, like retaining walls, piles, and so on. But there are also many situations where the hazard is too high and it is impossible to wait for plants to restore the natural environments. For example, in Europe, and especially in Italy, it happened many times that the big areas were placed with non-native ecosystems, and we can ask to ourselves if this is sustainable or not. Okay? Here we have an example where there was an old landslide. The place was new plants were placed there, but those plants were not native plants. It means that, as you can see, those are native plants, those are not native plants, and after some years, the non-native plants were subjected to death. Why? Because they were not familiar with that specific environment. So, not all the applications are sustainable. Not all of them are useful and effective. Which kind of plants are to be used then to stabilize at least a shell of soil? A mix of species that belong to the same native phytosociological association, and also possibly plants with different complementary root systems, which can be tap root systems, lateral root systems, earth root systems, and so on. Why? Because the complementarity of the characteristics can improve soil stabilization. Pioneer plants, those which are naturally able to colonize and create new habitats. And also possibly hardy plants, those which do not need fertile soil, because in some cases soil is not fertile. Okay? We can see different kinds of structures. For example, those can be effectively adopted for stream banks. You know that when you have a river, the stream banks can be eroded by the river. In order to prevent erosion and the phenomenon of a scur, you can adopt this kind of solution, which includes some structure which are eco-friendly because they are made with wooden, and a system of new plants which could be also helped with auxiliary systems like those represented in the figure. We can use auxiliary biodegradable materials. We need them to avoid, for example, hydrodynamic base scur. In some cases, also rocks, like in this case, are normally used for this purpose. Let's go on. For slopes, we can adopt the so-called faggotry. We can see the top view of the system, the front view of the system, and the cross-section of the system. Those systems are widely adopted on slopes in order to prevent erosion and shallow landslides. Let's go further. Another system is wormwood. As you see, a system of wood. This is the top view, this is the front view, and this is the section of wood that are inserted at a regular distance on the slope in order to prevent erosion. Let's go further. And other systems could be an integration with retaining walls. They can be of different aids, retaining walls with specific plants, with specific root systems, in order to obtain a combined effect of stabilization. Even in this case, we can see on a steep slope, we can use both wooden at the toe and the geotextiles, which prevent the soil erosion and also the implantation of new plants. Let's go further. You can see in these pictures some applications on some slopes. Obviously, we cannot neglect the great importance of the drainage network. Always, when we design this kind of applications, we always have to take into account the drainage network. Other different techniques like hydroseeding, which is a mix of seeds, water, and organic nutrients, which is directly sprayed on slopes, usually after the arrangement of an erosion control. On the right side, we can see brush layering. It means a connection between brushes with the roots, and this is a kind of geotextile which improves the stability of the shallow part of the soil. In this case, yes, we can go further. We can see which was the previous steepness of the slope. Sometimes we are obliged to cut the slopes in order to have a new road, for example. But those slopes are too much steep, and they could be subjected to instability. In order to stabilize, we can think to reprofile, to obtain a gentle profile like this. As you see, this is a fragmented rock material, which could be modeled like steps, like stairs, and in between the stairs there is the possibility to add new plants. Let's go further. This is a picture that you can recognize. This is on the road from Byumba to the Erosion road. Do you recognize it? The place? I tried to focus the attention on the three elements on this picture. Here we can observe a very important phenomenon of landslides that involve the rocks. This is a phenomenon that cannot be solved by using bioengineering, obviously. It needs most probably very important engineering structures like piles, retaining walls, and so on. On the other side, we can see a part of the hill where most probably all the plants have been removed. It is the phenomenon of deforestation, which increases the phenomenon of landslides and soil erosion. But on this side, we can see another kind of solution. Please go further. The kind of solution that we see there is already adopted in Rwanda, widely adopted. Then, my question is, preservation versus restoration. I have seen that the Rwandan Agricultural Board states that the mission of a specific unit, which is called the land husbandry, is to develop modern agriculture through natural resources management in a country where there is no soil or water loss. The objectives are protection of hillsides and waterlands against soil erosion and floods, restoration of soil fertility, improvement of land productivity. And the main activities include the construction of terraces, which could be both radical or progressive terraces. But most probably you know better than me this topic. Please go further. These are typical examples of radical terraces. Then we also have, please further, progressive terraces. If I'm not wrong, these are the two meanings of progressive terraces and radical terraces. They are very effective. They are already used and adopted widely in the Rwandan countryside. Then the conclusions are, first, study of the current situation of terraces in different areas. Second, evaluation of effectiveness, even in correlation with drainage systems, if they are effective or if they are not effective. Then after, restoring degraded slopes adopting innovative techniques, and I gave you some examples. Preserving the existing ancient terraces. It means that they need maintenance in time. They cannot be abandoned. If they are abandoned, the occurrence of landslides, of soil erosion can increase. Last, passing on to new generations the fathers' technique. We know that in Italy, for example, our fathers and grandfathers knew very well how to maintain those kind of terraces. Now we are experiencing, especially in Italy, the loss of this culture. Then, that's why, according to me, it is much more important preservation with respect restoration. Finally, a suggestion for UTAB, introducing maybe in the Bachelor of Agriculture here, a specific module on sustainable techniques for slope stability. I believe that you have great potentialities in order to introduce this kind of module. So this is only a recommendation, a suggestion for a future perspective. Then thank you very much for your kind attention.
We also thank you, Professor Roberto Valentino. I have a question until now, but in this world where we sit here, we are in academic world. But as I'm seeing, as if you are not in academic areas, because the applaud that you are giving is not very enough. As you have seen, the Professor Roberto Valentino has even seen our mountains here from Gicumbi to that area. So please, I welcome you to applaud more for that research. So the following topic is called soil erosion, the geomorphological perspective, to be presented by Professor Alessandro Schelli. Please welcome.
If possible, also,
yes,
I prefer
please welcome.
to stay here. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. First of all, thank you very much to the UTAB. Thank you very much to the organizer to invite me for this presentation. And just quickly, I introduce myself, if it is possible to see the first slide, please. Okay, I am an associate professor in geomorphology and physical geography. I teach geomorphology, physical geography, and geomorphological mapping at the Parma University. This morning, sorry, the Deutsch. This morning, my presentation, my talk, deals with the geomorphological mapping. The next one, please. And my topics, the research topics, are on landslides, the relationships between landslide and the tectonic features of the bedrock, of the substrate, and the relationship between landslide and the climate change. And also, I have as a research topic also the geomorphological mapping. So, the next one, please. Yes, the title of my presentation this morning is Soil Erosion, the Geomorphological Perspective. When I tough this presentation in the past day, I tough which kind of information can leave to you this morning in this time. And I tough to introduce to you, to speak about the geomorphological mapping. That is my topic. In this presentation, I make a quick introduction to the basic concept of geomorphology, and I say to you what a geomorphological map, which is the path to produce a geomorphological map, what are the needs to produce a geomorphological map and the advantages to have it, how to use the geomorphological mapping in the landslide and soil erosion studies, and which are the information that the geomorphological mapping can furnish to prevent or solve the problems connected to soil erosion, landslide is a part of soil erosion, and so on. Okay, what is geomorphology? I think, I know that among them there are some geographers, and the geomorphology is between geography and geology. The geomorphology is the branch of knowledge of geology and also geography, deals with the study means in this case observation and interpretation of landforms, of the surface of the earth relief, and the evolution of this surface. The aim of the geomorphology is knowledge the agents and the processes that shape the ground surface. A landform is obviously the expression of this shaping of the ground surface. And the geomorphological agent is able to do the three fundamental actions in geomorphology. The first one is the erosion. The agent is able to remove the material, to remove the debris, to remove the rocks. The transportation, move this material along a path, and then the deposition. In example, geomorphological agents are the gravity, are the tectonic, are water, are wind, and also are man. The man is able to remove, to transport, to depone the material, the rock material. A geomorphological process represents the way in which a geomorphological agent carry out these three actions. In example, geomorphological processes are due river, connected to the agent water, faults, that are one of the expression of tectonics, glaciers for the ice, and also the processes connected to the soil erosion, like landslide and so on. Okay, the next one, please. To do a geomorphological mapping means to acquire field data that then can be used for the model, can be used to a large amount, wide types of maps, and so on. All the knowledge acquired on the origin and evolution of the landform during the geomorphological study can be summarized, this knowledge, and presented in a map. This map can have different scale relating to the purposes, relating to the aims of this study, of this work. Sorry, the previous one. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. The results of this geomorphological mapping is a geomorphological map that report the landform that are on the topographic area that we studied. Okay? And sorry, the important thing, these landforms are reported on topographic map that is the base of this geomorphological map. The next one, please. Okay. In the case of landslide, to do a geomorphological mapping means recognize the different landforms that characterize a landslide. This is a scheme of a landslide. The different landforms that characterize the landslide, that means also that have a meaning also in terms of type of movement, of morphodynamicity of the landslide, and so on. So observe and interpret the landform means also know the landslides. Next one, please. For the soil erosion is the same. As you know, the soil erosion is due to the runoff processes. Due to the erosion, transportation, and deposition of soil material by the running water flowing on the ground, the runoff. Runoff also depends very quickly by different factors. Some of them I'm listed here. The climate, obviously, but also the material involved in these processes. The roughness. The roughness is one attribute of the morphology of the landform of the Earth's surface. Geomorphology in general and morphometry of the slope, and also from the vegetation cover. The next one, please. Here I summarize the main processes causing the soil erosion, starting from the erosion caused by the drops of rainfall on the earth, and then the erosion due to the sheet, to the water that run on the ground as a sheet, in a planar manner. And then when the water concentrates along a path, we can have the real erosion, and then when this erosion enlarges, we can have gully erosion. These are the processes, but also the landform, the expression of these processes, as you can see in these photos, can be reported on a geomorphological map. And you can acquire field data on these processes using this type of study, this type of technique. The next one, please. Only some information, but I think that you know this. Soil erosion can be differentiated in natural soil erosion, which is due to the water flowing on the soil surface, and in the case of natural soil erosion, weathering which occurs on the rocks underneath the soil can compensate for the eroded soil. And then the accelerated soil erosion. Accelerated soil erosion is an accelerated process, and in this case the processes remove a large quantity of this material that cannot renewed in a time period that is in a short time period. The next one. So geomorphological mapping. In this slide, quickly we can see how to do a geomorphological mapping. The first stage is create a preliminary geomorphological mapping using remote sensing analysis, using available or acquired aerial photographs, satellite imagery, and so on. Then the second stage is to do a complete geomorphological analysis, to deep, this is the first document, to go in the field and to observe and to analyze the landform in the field. And then the final issue of this geomorphological map. The next one. So, to do a geomorphological mapping, as I said before, is to transfer the landforms from the reality, from the ground, to the map. In the right side, you can see an example of a geomorphological map. The next of a landslide. So an important thing, because during the summer school of the last week, a question posed to me was, the topographical map and geomorphological map are the same? No, not. A topographical map is a map that describes the shape of the landform. The geomorphology of the surface, sorry. The geomorphological map is a map that can give to you information about information on the development, on the origin of the landform that represent the relief. The next one, please. So I conclude with an example of the morphological map. This is an area of the Northern Apennine. My research is mainly in this area. This is an area of the Northern Apennine. Northern Apennine is the mountain chain that made the backbone of Italy. And in particular, I work on the northern part of this chain. We are in the valley of Bratica. This is a geomorphological map of the Bratica Valley. A geomorphological map in general is composed by a map, by the map, and then, please, the next one, and then the legend. The legend is important because the legend is contains the keys to read the geomorphological map, and is structured in this manner. Each chapter represents an agent. Do you remember the agent before? Water, ice, wind, and so on. There are the symbols, the landforms and the processes are put into the map using symbols. And then the use of colors. The colors, each color is associated with an agent. In example, for the running water, the green, for the gravity, the red. And then the intensity of the color gives you the information about the dynamicity of the landform. If a landform is active or not. So in this manner you can have a scientific-based document to read the landform, to read the relief of the earth. Okay? The next one, please. This focus on a couple of two parts of this legend. The landslide, the process is the landform due to gravity, and the landform due to running water, because this map was realized mainly focusing on this landform and on the relationships among these landforms, among landslides and running waters. The next one, please. If you look, we are some enlargement, wider part of the map. You can see different shape, different polygons with the different symbols. Each symbols, I can say you that before, represent a landform. In this case, these are landform due glacier. These are landslides, and so on. And also you can see also in this part of the picture, the next one. So, in conclusion, in summary, which are the type of information the colleague can read, can acquire using this map? Are information on the type of processes, on the shape of landform. These landform are reported, remember, on a topographic map, on a topographic base. And so you can have information also on the size of this landform. You can measure them. And then also the relationships among the landform. In this case, there are different information among the landslides that are on the slopes, aside from the river, and the river itself. The river Bratica is in erosion, and in many cases causes act as a trigger factor for the landslide. So you can acquire also information about the relationships among these landslides. The next one, please. Okay, final remarks. So, the geomorphological mapping allow us to collect field data. Field data are important in all type of studies on the processes that shape the Earth's surface, like landslide, but also soil erosion and so on. The collection of this data is important because it means to have quantitative data to employ for applied type, applied kind of studies. Geomorphological Map is a powerful tool for the knowledge of the physical characteristics of the territory, and it represents the source of data that can be employed in study concerning slope stability, susceptibility stability, but also study for soil erosion, and so on. So I hope to have leaved to you some information on this type of document and on this type of activity, and that it will be useful for your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank Professor Alessandro Sheri, and don't hope, but be certain that we understood. Even me, who does not follow geography, I've remembered that during the secondary school ordinary level, we have done what we call mapping, not geomorphological, because we used such length, les cordes. We use those cords to measure the length on the given map. And I think we were doing mapping, not morphological, but I've got something from this topic, and I thank you. So please let me welcome Mr. Alexi Havugimana for his topic, The World of the Future, Blockchain and the Use of Technology. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all audience. I'm here in order to present the topic, the world of the future, blockchain, and the use of case technology. This is, I was thinking about of the future. We will discuss. For this blockchain, we have some activities and some application which is going on. We are living in the world where we find all activity are online, and now the blockchain is creating the blocks. From the government and the computer interface, consensus, and transaction, and then blockchain. I can just start by abstract introduction, rationale, problem statement, objectives, methodology, approach, or innovation, even some expected results, and then I can conclude by stockholder. The trend of cryptocurrency is increased today, day by day, because the cryptocurrency is used in different development. Here was discussed how the blockchain is initially required to build our blockchain. Here we can think about of research to overview the rough of future. How the future is it according to the blockchain? Because we are reaching a blockchain technology associated with our daily life. Now we have to think about for the future. And some population think about of that blockchain is an alien, or it is not appear, because when in Rwanda you talk about of blockchain, they think about of bitcoins, they think about of cryptocurrency, they think about of European system, not for the Rwandan, but it is a network analysis. It is network analysis, and it is documented digital sector where it can be applied, where it can be used, like Internet of Thinking, healthcare, supply chain management, government sectors. Blockchain also using the bank. I will show us where it reduces some cost in the bank. So blockchain also, it is powerful. It has a guarantee. It is immutable. It is transaction. So with blockchain, there is unchangeable, which means it is very secured. When you do a transaction, there is no longer to receive the money, or there is no longer to receive the services. The blockchain, there is improvement of blockchain in Rwanda, because in 2017 it was a little bit, but now after 3 years it was sure as to move us from 2,000%, because sometimes of impact of COVID, impact of other things, it requires everyone to be inculcated in blockchain development system. The blockchain, when you talk about blockchain, some think about of bitcoins, and this bitcoins is unknown in Rwanda, but it is used. It is used in finance, in a bank they use blockchain. Also it is used in healthcare, even voting system. It is a system of blockchain technology. It is where they use, even in civil document, in land, land title, no, in Rwanda they start to use blockchain technology. But we don't know what we are using, and we don't have many information about blockchain technology. But in the future, the world of the future is for the blockchain technology only. As innovation, it will be facilitate. As innovation, it will incorporate the different users, because it is somewhere where they will use fingerprint, scanner, cameras. Even those cameras, they are using blockchain technology. But we have few mechanisms, we have few knowledge about of cryptocurrency and those blockchain. Let us talk about of the objectives and of this research, because I was thinking about of those one. I was thinking how to look about of application of blockchain technology across into multiple domain. So I will also identify some characters, show as revolutionaries or as business usual practice. And this one will also help me to provide the framework or to determine how the blockchain use the application. As the statement of problems, the problem is that the blockchain, the people have the negative attitude toward to technology, too little knowledge about it. They don't want to understand about of blockchain technology. Even it is used, even it is powerful, even it is good, they don't want to hear. They don't want to get more information about of blockchain technology and how it can be used. As the result expected, you find as you look, this in the middle, there is a blockchain. In the future, we will be in the hand of blockchain. There is no excuse for blockchain technology. It will be a mandatory. As you find in COVID comes, online becomes mandatory. And this blockchain in the future, we will be request everyone to use it. Because in the bank we will find out there is where the bank will suggest to use blockchain technology instead of going there at the bank. And for the innovation, there is a lot of innovation in blockchain, because in Rwanda in recent years, they was talking about of technology. Some understand the use of telephone, the use of Visa card, the use of payment electronic, the use of online system. The people don't want to understand. But today, blockchain is starting to explain how it can be used, where we can talk about of the mineral trusting and spend and transaction in mobile application. It is where like in Gorilla, they started to use mobile games, where they install some more games in the telephone, then they tracking the gorilla, mountain gorillas. This system start to be used in some domain. I was discussed about of paperless land transaction. Now it is already starting in Rwanda. It is new system. Now, as we can think about of blockchain, like I take in the banks, maybe it will be a risk from different institution, but now I take a type of bank where the blockchain in the bank you can precise the time to open, and but for blockchain like bitcoins, it will be anytime you can use your time to make transaction. Card also, this value based on the card is not paid by the user directly, but bitcoins will do it directly. For the privacy, the bank store the content, but for the bitcoins, you store your things. No one, you don't need anyone to store your information. You store it yourselves. There is no intervention of the others. And also for the transaction speed, it is done for the bank. It can be done from 1 day, 2 days for some transaction from one account to another. But for blockchain technology, it can be done in 15 minutes. And there is also intervention of yellow card, which is intervening for transaction from cryptocurrency to the Rwandan francs and the US dollars. As the methodology, we will try to use primary data. We will use quantifiable information. We will interview some target population, and we will use questionnaire from target institution. And we will use also the secondary data, which will be documentation, and like website, books, and journals. As the stockholders, I was discussing about of yellow card. In Rwanda, this is a system where you have a bitcoins and a cryptocurrency. They give you the light, and then they change from US to Rwandan francs, and then you get your money from bitcoins to Rwandan francs. We'll work with UTAB and the partners university. We'll work with banks, different banks in this research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alexia Vgimana. I would like you to take a deep breath and think about the resources that we have in Rwanda and what we have heard around the world. 2 minutes. So you have remembered? So now, I was asking you to take a breath and think about the resources that you know in Rwanda or all over the world. Some resources, natural resources, financial resources, or resources that we have. Now, let us welcome Professor Emma Petrella to talk about the topic called groundwater, a hidden resource to protect. Welcome.
Hello everybody, thanks to invite me, and with Italian style I will do my presentation standing. Okay, so my name is Emma Petrella. I'm coming from University of Parma, and I am a teacher since 2013. So maybe if you want to go with the presentation, and yeah. Today we will talk about groundwater as a hidden resource to protect. Go on. As I told you before, I am also do some courses at the University of Parma since 2013. I have 2 courses. One is applied hydrogeology, and the other one is hydrogeological survey. I do some lesson in the classroom, the classic lesson, but I'm used to take my students on field just to show how groundwaters appear, and also to take some data. Concerning from my research interests, my first interest is landslide hydrology. That's why I'm here, because I work with Roberto and Alessandro as well. Can you go on, please? But my first research interest is related to the groundwater protection and the microbial contamination of groundwater in a carbonate aquifer that are in Italy, are related to the big mountain and also with a big amount of water itself. So this is just some picture concerning a landslide I studied, and also the groundwater environment. Go on, please. So before starting, I want to ask you a question. If I say fresh water, what do you imagine? So probably you will imagine some river. Can you press on the slide, please? Or maybe you can imagine some lake. Yeah? Go on. Or maybe you can imagine some wetland. Okay? But is this the only fresh water that we have on the earth? I think that no. Go on, please. Because if we saw the distribution of the earth waters, what we saw until now, that is the water that we can see on the land surface, is just belonging on only the 0.3% of the available fresh water on the land, on the surface. But instead, as we can see from the graph, almost the 30% of the fresh water on Earth is stored under the ground. That means that we cannot see this kind of water, but it is a lot of water. Of course, this is another almost 70% of the water that is stuck on the ice cap and glaciers, and this is just all the water that we can define as fresh water. The other waters on the lands are saline waters related to the ocean itself. So why groundwater is so important, and why we have to protect this kind of resource? Because from different international reports, they say that almost the 40% of the water is used for all purposes. That means for agriculture, is used as a tap water, is used for industries purposes, for bottling, also for doing some energy and so on. So almost the 50% of the world population depends on groundwater every day. That means that groundwater is also important for supply some environmental settings. So we have to protect this kind of research. And also why groundwater is important, because it's cleaner than the water river do itself purifying power. So it's a great research for us. So groundwater, as I told you until now, is the most abundant resources of fresh water on Earth. So what's the problem related with the groundwater? The problem is that until it remains unhidden resources, we probably use and we make some pollution of this kind of resource, because as we can see, out of sight, out of mind. And also because it's an hidden resource, the knowledge concerning groundwater processes sometimes are not known and are also difficult to manage it. So at the moment, the groundwater faces several challenges. One is the over-abstraction. The second one is related to the climate change, of course, and then is related also the pollution that the human does to this, for this research. So just a few words concerning the over-abstraction. The Global Water Report 2022 says that over the past 50 years, the global demand for groundwater has dramatically increased. This because there was an increasing population, that means much more water, and that, for drinking, for the humankind purposes, and also for the agriculture, of course. That means that although groundwater is an enormous resource, as I showed you, in some places it has been abstracted at faster rate than it has been recharged. So in this report, there is a kind of really high percentage, that is almost 30% of the world's largest groundwater system are experiencing a long-term decline in groundwater. So concerning the climate change, as everybody knows, the Earth's average temperature is increasing. That means that some areas are becoming drier and other places are becoming wetter. Concerning for the human behavior will also change in respect to the climate change. That means that if an area becomes drier and hotter, there will be less recharge to groundwater. That means less precipitation. That leading to the lower water tables and less water to the spring itself. Less recharge may also mean for farmers that have pumping more and more from the groundwater to the crops, leading to even lower water tables and less springs flow. Concerning for the area near the sea levels, climate change can also pollute this kind of aquifer because of the intrusion of the salt water. Concerning the pollution, of course, the pollution can be led by human activities, also natural, but concerning the polluting done by man's activities, I mean, we can pollute the groundwater from waste disposal, from industrial activities, farming, and so on. So the common contaminants are nitrates, are hydrocarbons, metals, and pathogens concerning the virus or the microorganisms as well. So this is groundwater. What means groundwater? Because I just told you that groundwater is water behind the land surface, and groundwater is the amount of water that is stored in the surface, in soil and rocks, that are able to hold this water. And of course, the input of the water inside the ground is rainfall. And concerning from some data of the Rwanda region, that I have to say that I didn't found on the information concerning to make a good estimation of the quantity that you have under the ground, man maybe is around 66 cubic meters per second. So this can escape, this one is quite technical slide, so go on please. So during my research activities, the aim of my research activities was quite wide. We start to also to try to understand why the groundwater was contaminated, taking into account the behavior of the topsoils that are the pyroclastic origin. And so we saw the microbial contamination and the microbial flow through the soil. We also analyzed the influence of rainfall regime on the breakthrough at the springs, and also we use pass through the soil as well. So go on, please. I want to show you in the next slide one case study. It is this case study is a carbonate aquifer called Acqua de Faggi. It's in the south part of Italy. That is my place as well. And this is the aquifer itself. The aquifer, as I told you, is a carbonate aquifer. That is a compartmentalized aquifer. And we just analyze a small portion of the entire aquifer. And the type of soil is, as I told you, is a from pyroclastic origin, and the type of contamination is related to the grazing and the manure spreading. Go on, please. The first thing that we done concerning the research activities was the aquifer characterization, because as I told you, we didn't know nothing concerning of the environment below the ground. So we just analyzed the groundwater flows coming out from the spring 1 and the spring 2. And also what we analyzed was the rainfall that infiltrates the ground. And also we discover and swallow holes. That means it's a lowest part of this plane where the water flow through. And we do some tracer tests, as we can see from the image. And what we saw that this point is directly connected with the springs. And what we saw that we have two different infiltration mechanisms. The first one is the direct infiltration of the rainfall, and the second one was the secondary infiltration through the swallow holes. If you go on, there is another image concerning, concerning the springs that I show you. Then we start, because we, of course, it was not like very, very easy, but it takes a time. We understand that we have, during the time, two different scenarios. A case A, where the karst system is entirely located just in the rocks, and another cases where the karst system is partially located in the groundwater, so it's filled with the water itself. So what we done is monitoring, of course, the input parameters, that means the meteorological parameters. We monitoring the springs discharge in these two cases, and also we take some water samples that we analyze concerning the microbial contamination, as we can see in that image. If we go on, here we can see the value of contamination that we acquired in these three different points. As we can see, when the karst system is entirely located into the rock, so it doesn't have a connection with the groundwater, the type of contamination is the same order. But the groundwater in this case is, let's say, protected. So the contamination at springs 2 is much lower than in the springs 1. If we go on, we can see another scenarios. The case B, where we are in the high flow period. That means there are a lot of rainfall. This rainfall, of course, also infiltrates to the rock itself. That means that you have a groundwater level rise. The groundwater level rise interact with the water table interact with the karst system. And what we saw is that the contamination at the beginning, so in the swallow holes, is a high magnitude, of course, because there is a lot of water that infiltrates in the karst system. But there is also a kind of dissolution that we have in the groundwater. That means that contamination is still high, but it's not like high like what we saw in the swallow holes. So what we done after, it was some technical arrangement. We make some reinterpretation and modification of some parameters that are listed here to make and of course, we change it, the weight of these parameters in two different cases because there is different hydrogeological setting. So what we done at the end was do some map of dynamic land use limitation concerning after our knowledge concerning the mechanisms of transporting of microbial contamination. And of course we didn't, we try to minimize to avoid the land use, the activities of land use that are forbidden in order to not to, to forbidding every type of activities on this land. So because we know that the problem was related to the swallow holes and the infiltration of rainfall water in that point, we can avoid some human activities just in the point that can affect the contamination of the groundwater. This was just to saying, just go on. Yeah, just to have some flash, just to keep in mind concerning the all the knowledge behind the groundwater, and there are some take-home messages that this is could be summarized in these 3 points. That means that even if we don't see the groundwater, we have to take care about these natural valuable resources. And of course, to take care about groundwater, we have to know the processes behind. That means that we have to study and to improve our knowledge concerning the groundwater processes. And of course, if you have these two points in mind, also you can act appropriate management policies and protection action that are necessary to ensure its stability, sustainability in terms of quantity and quality as well. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And standing by there, I would like to apologize in the name of, here we sit, not saying in the name of Utah, but we apologize for the inconvenience of the systems and technology, and we thank you for the support that you gave us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have heard so many, not saying many, but we have held so about 5 topics, but I would like you to do a kind of warm-up so that we can welcome other presenters and we follow kindly. So please, in your honors, please, distinguished guests, please, dear Vice Chancellor of the university, in your respect, I would like us, all of us, to stand up for a short minute, for a warm-up so that you can follow kindly. Please, a warm-up. Stand up. And while we stand up, I want you, luckily the corona is not here because we are vaccinated and I know that we have some sanitizers. Make sure that each and everyone is closer to someone behind or near him or her. It's exercise. Be closer, one and everyone. Yes. Hold your hand. Hold your hands. Join your hands. Yes. For each and everyone, look someone in the eyes, like if you are seeing yourself in his or her eyes, 2 by 2. And say to that person, but in the name of saying to yourself, Earth is our home. Earth is our home. Earth is our home. Protect our home. Come again. Earth is our home. Protect our home. Thank you. Sit down. This exercise is a kind of warm-up, but as we have followed all topics that we are being presented, we began by the waste management, sustainable, slope stabilization. All it's about protecting our world. Yes, and hopefully we will continue to follow and continue to see how we will proceed. So please, a young woman called Iradukunda Yvonne to present the topic called Automatic Irrigation System for Greenhouses. Please welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Dukunda. I am embedded engineer with masters. I used to come up with the things that will save our time. It's not to make people being unemployed, just to save our time. That's why today I come up with a topic called Automatic Ligation System for Greenhouses. Traditional irrigation techniques require manual intervention. That's why some people, they are moving from land cultivation to greenhouses cultivation or agriculture. So greenhouses control the environment, provide a golden place to grow crops out of season and increase the crop's productivity. This is due to control amount of water to irrigate the crops as well as the temperature. Greenhouses helps farmers control weather conditions to mitigate drought, hot temperature, intense wind, heavy rainfall, or high storm. They can also better manage pests and diseases due to caused by external environment. Proper irrigation is the key to improve the quality and productivity of crop growth in the greenhouses. So different methods have been applied as irrigation, but still poor. For instance, sprinklers was used to irrigate the crops, but it consumes a lot of water. By this project, a self-watering system would significantly decrease the amount of time needed to keep plants alive. The objective of this project is to develop automatic irrigation system for greenhouses. Some specific objectives, it is to study existing document. Of course, there have been some developed systems that have been developed to overcome, to applied within the greenhouses. So we study the document and come up with the innovation. We design also automatic irrigation system, then develop the design system, and we implement the automatic irrigation system in greenhouses. The innovation of this project is that the existing systems, they are regulated. They irrigate due to time, but here we have a sensor to sense the moisture within the soil. Once the water needs to be irrigated, it will be automatically irrigate our soil. And we will have a virtual data visualization because it will be sent to the mobile application. We study the existing document, as I said, and we do use interview as a methodology, then the questionnaire. And the methodology that will be used to design this system will be agile we follow agile methodology and XP agile as one type of agile methodology. This is the system flowchart. We'll have a moisture sensor which will be placed within the soil. and it will be sensing the water within the soil. Once the moisture is enough, the system will stop pumping. If it is not, it will start pumping and display the value of moisture on RSD and on phone, because we will have a live data, because the data also will be sent to the cloud. Once it reached to needed moisture, it will automatically stop pumping. This is the system design where we are going to use ESP8266 and relay to control the prompt. There is a buzzer also that will be high. Once the moisture is enough, the buzzer will generate noise and the data will be sent to the cloud. And also there will be a possibility to see the value of moisture on LSD display. The outcomes, we have a real-time system and will increase the productivity due to automatic ligation, and also it will save our time and reduce the minimum, the supervision, because we have live data on our mobile application on our phones or farmers' phone. The stakeholders are UTAB, farmers, and lab. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Iradukunda Yvonne. I don't know if in your country it's the same, but in our country currently, the academic years used to be followed by old man or old woman. But in these days, even young women and young men are also involved in academic areas. And that is, I think that is a hope for the old generation, that they are something like giving those potential initiatives into research to the young ones. So please, I thank Mrs. Iradukunda for the presentation. Call upon Nsazabera Fabien to present his topic called Synthesis of a Solid Mixed Microbial Biofertilizer and Study of its Characterization. Please, welcome.
Okay. Thank you. So my project is all about contributing to sustainable agriculture by synthesizing a solid mixed microbial biofertilizer. So why do we need this biofertilizer? Just first, I would like to define what we call a fertilizer. A fertilizer may be like a natural or a synthetic chemical, which when applied on the plant or by fertigation can supplement natural soil and increase the crop growth and soil fertility. And this fertilizer, what they do is just to make availability of macronutrient and micronutrient to plants. And sometimes these nutrients may be not enough. That's why we may sometimes need to enrich the fertilization by additional micronutrients like copper, iron, zinc, iodine, selenium, fluorine, just to give the crop what they need for growth and productivity. An example here, the zinc when the zinc was supplemented to the soil, they found that the cereals grain was increased the yield and productivity. And also these cereals, they increased the tolerance to harsh environment. But a high problem is the plant needs macronutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, but these may not be available to the plant. The adequate amount are not available in the soil because we can find the soil microbes. These soil microbes, they need nitrogen for synthesizing like DNA, for protein synthesis, for enzyme synthesis, because they need this enzyme for different biochemical activities. And these microorganisms, they can compete with the plant to this nitrogen. Also, phosphorus may be precipitated with iron and aluminium in acidic soil or with the calcium in alkaline soil. For these phenomena make these macronutrients not available enough to plants. So that's why we need another way, an alternative way to supplement these macronutrients. Another thing is the human population in the world, even in Rwanda, is continuously increasing. Like in Rwanda, we have around 30 million people. So because of this, we need a synchronized method which can produce enough food and so that we can feed the future population. That's here, many things they've done, and using synthetic chemical fertilizers, different researchers, they tried to increase the agricultural productivity. But the problem is using too much synthetic chemical fertilizers. These fertilizers cause deterioration of soil, deterioration of soil quality, deterioration of surface and groundwater. They even reduce the biodiversity and they soften the ecological ecosystem functioning. Here, as a solution, we need to reduce the consumption of chemical fertilizers and pesticides by replacing them with the harmless, renewable input of fertilizers. It's from here where biofertilizers are needed as a suitable alternative. And these biofertilizers may include organic waste, dead organisms, and living organisms. This project is targeting just to produce biofertilizers incorporating living organisms, microbial biofertilizers, just by selecting efficient microbial strain which can, when interacting with the rhizosphere is a part of soil around the roots. When these microbes interacting with the rhizosphere, they can benefit crop plant by the uptake of nutrients. Many bacteria, not only bacteria, even fungus, they have been identified as plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. But some have a known mechanism and others, the mechanism are not yet known. The known mechanism for these microorganisms, including some atmospheric nitrogen fixing bacteria, including phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, it has bacteria which can enhance nutrient uptake of the plant, and the other can produce plant growth hormones like auxin, cytokinin, and others. What we need is just using these microbial biofertilizer to provide optimum nutrient to crop plant. And these, when they provide these nutrients, they can not cause damage to the environment. This is also another key to this project. Also, this microbial fertilizer can enhance biodiversity of the soil because it's like supplementing microbial soil microbes. Also, when these microbial fertilizers consume, their consumption can increase. We need to increase the utilization of these microbial fertilizer because also we have a high demand of fertilizer. A high demand of fertilizer just to produce more foods on a limited arable land. And also there is a problem of exhausting of fossil fuel. Why do we bring fossil fuel here in fertilizer? Because when producing chemical fertilizers, we use industries and we will need transportation way so that the fertilizer can reach to the farmers. That's where fossil fuel will be used. And also, the chemical fertilizers are now becoming highly expensive. So many farmers, like small farmers, are now not affording buy this chemical fertilizer. Also, this chemical fertilizer, they cause depression of soil fertility. That's why we need now to incorporate microbial biofertilizer just for sustainable agriculture. Rationale of our project, because this microbial biofertilizer, when we use them, they can colonize the rhizosphere. Not only the rhizosphere, they can also enter interior of the host plant. And here they will produce and release different nutrients, including macronutrient and micronutrient to the plant. And in turn, these nutrients will cause plant growth and increase the yield and the productivity of our crop plants. Another good point is this microbial biofertilizer, they can be accessible, cost effective even to small farmers, because after developing the technology, we can transmit the technology to small farmers and they can produce this micro biofertilizer by themselves at a very low cost. Another good point is this microbial biofertilizer, even they live with the plant in a symbiotic relationship. So supplementing other additional microbial fertilizer, it will not need more adaptation. Our objectives, first we need to contribute to availability of this microbial biofertilizer for the promotion of sustainable agriculture through organic farming. Our different specific objectives include to select effective, efficient living microbes culture from the soil. We will select from weed types. Then after, we need to produce mass production of this biofertilizer after transmit the technology to farmers. What do we expect from this project as our outcomes are the two things. First, production of agricultural booster in two forms. We need to produce agricultural this microbial biofertilizer in a solid form using solid carriers and in liquid form using liquid carriers. Then the second outcome, we will distribute the technology to marginal and small farmers. Our methodology, first we will select the microbes using weed types from the soil. After, we will inoculate our microbial strains just to develop the inoculum using a broth in flasks. Then we will multiply, scale up in flask and a high volume fermenters. We will check the quality. Checking the quality, we will apply our microbial fertilizer to different crops and see the effect. After, we will mix our broth with a suitable carrier. Here, suitable carrier for solid carrier, we will use 2 types, charcoal and mix the soil. And after, we will check which carrier is suitable, more suitable for maintaining the quality of our microbes. Then after, we pack our microbial biofertilizer into a plastic bag. This microbial biofertilizer, after mixing them with the suitable carrier, they have a high moisture content. So after packing, we will cure at 25 degrees Celsius in order to reduce the moisture content. After this curing, we will also check the quality to see whether this curing did not kill our strains. Then after, we can store them before distributing to the farmers. Our stakeholders, we expect to work with the local government and also with the UTAB and UTAB partners. Even we will work with the Menagri and the Rabu, which is under Ministry of Agriculture. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sanzabera Fabien. And I know that we may seem like we are tired, but we are not tired. As you know, I cannot say it in Kinyarwanda, but trying to translate it, we say that knowledge is about how long we sit. So, knowledge. So please, I welcome Mr. Bizimungu Jean-Baptiste to present his topic called E-Payment System and Trade Improvement. Please welcome.
Thank you. My name is Jean-Baptiste Bizimungu. I am a lecturer at the University of Technology and Arts of Byumba since 2012 in the Department of Management and Development Studies. My topic is about e-payment system and trade improvement. As you know, the electronic payment system has been encouraged by most of the government bodies in order to cope with maybe the negative impact of COVID-19. In Rwanda, it is the same. But when we consider the practices, we see that this system is not yet fully embraced. Why? Maybe we can assume that there are some challenges that need maybe a deep analysis. That's why we have chosen to work on such subject. What does it mean, electronic payment? Quickly defined, electronic payment consists of paying goods and services electronically. Electronic payment can be thought of purchasing goods and services using a variety of monetary payments systems. For example, you may pay for a car bought from Japan using an internet connection, computer, mobile phones, and other online monetary systems. Electronic payment systems are grouped in 3 categories, namely traditional monetary transactions, digital money, and credit or debt payments, which all have a variety of stipulations to be followed for success in any transactions. So the increasing usage of the internet, smartphones, and excessive initiatives taken by government bodies towards digital payment have led to the exponential growth of cashless payment companies. So e-payment systems present a number of benefits in trading. To name a few, we can talk about the cost reduction from reduced personnel, lower administrative expenses, and decrease in printing and mailing costs, reduction in the amount of paper consumed by an organization, compression of the procure to pay cycles resulting from the reduction in mail and check float, increased ability to capture direct payment discounts offered by suppliers due to shorter processing cycle times. There are also improved visibility into payments and overall spending, translating into better cash flow, forecasting, and risk management abilities, speeding up of the payment process of customs duties and taxes. There is also reduction in losses incurred resulting from check fraud, theft of printed checks, and data entry errors. Why now this topic? COVID-19 has unexpectedly set off a revolution in digital payments to cope with its impact. That's why most of businesses now carry out large financial transactions via mobile banking platforms by use of electronic devices. Nevertheless, the usage of cashless payment services is still a challenge for most of the consumers and clients due to lack of knowledge and learning about the usage or application of such services. Some of the key issues evident are the reliability and the cost of setting up electronic services. There are numerous factors that affect customer satisfaction, for instance, when using electronic payment systems. In this regards, the major gaps are the number of features that electronic payment systems application have. Another constraint is the reliability because it affects customer satisfaction in the use of electronic payment system, and most electronic payment systems have experienced outages of some sort, which can be very inconveniencing for customers. This research project aimed at analyzing those challenges and proposing some overcoming measures to improve transaction made in trading activities. What are the objectives of the project? The general objectives of the study is to examine the role of e-payment systems in improving the trade. The specific objectives are to assess the characteristics of the current e-payment system, to analyze the extent to which the e-payment systems influence the trading activities, to evaluate the challenges faced by e-payment systems, and then to suggest overcoming measures to the challenges faced by e-payment systems to improve trade. There are some few expected outcomes, including improved visibility of UTAB. In UTAB will be known as a provider of specialized knowledge and skills in e-payment and e-commerce. Another one is a enhanced networking of UTAB with industries developing e-payment systems and e-commerce. Enhanced e-payment system of UTAB to improve service delivery among beneficiaries. There are some maybe points highlighted under the innovation of this project, include effective inventory and stock management, the reduction of physical exchange of papers, the use of cash will be reduced, check and so on, reduction of transaction costs in trading by solving distance and time factors in the payment process, and by enabling a high degree of automation for the trader, customs, and banks. The methodology to be used include, for example, in data collection, to get primary data, we use 4 techniques to collect primary data, include questionnaire, structured interview, observation, and then the group discussion. Our stakeholders will be, first of all, UTAB, yes, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, MTN, Airtel Tigo, the Rwanda Private Sector Federation, and the banks. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Bizimungu Jean-Baptiste. Without wasting any more time, let us call Mr. Rutikanga Amon to present the topic called Electricity Consumption Management System and Economic Management. Please, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Rutikanga Amon. I'm a staff in the registry office, and my topic is about electricity consumption management and economic management. Nowadays, as we are developing, the big buildings are being built everywhere with many levels and the rooms. Imagine if ordinary switches have been used in electricity installation of those buildings. There should be a stage of electricity if the lights are stay turned on during daytime and during the whole night when the rooms are not in use, because sometimes people who are using the rooms live without turning off the light. An electrician is always obliged to pass and check in every room if the lights are turned off. And to avoid that, now electricity consumption management system and economic management will be a sustainable solution for that problem. Electricity consumption management system and economic management is an electrical installation which will automatically switch the light on when the natural light drops and switch off the light automatically when there is no more darkness in the room. It will also control the movement of people by embedding 2 flowing devices. We have 2 light switch that will automatically activate electricity circuit when there is a darkness, and switch off the light when there is no more darkness. And I will also use a motion sense to detect if there is a movement of people or an object, to keep the light on if there is a darkness. As innovation, the electricity consumption management system are existing, but it uses only 2 light switch and relay to automatically switch the light on and to switch off the light. However, my system will be developed to improve the existing ones by adding a motion sensor device, which will be used to detect if there is a movement of people or object in the room. It will work like this. If a natural light drops, the light will be automatically switched on, and a motion sense device will start to detect if there is a movement in the room or not. So if the movement is detected, of course, the light will stay turned on in the room. And if there is no movement detected in the room, a motion sense device will give a command to twilight switch through a microcontroller and relay to switch off automatically the light of a concerned room. I have an objective. General objective is to develop a system that will manage and economize electricity consumption, but automatically. Some specific objectives are to identify the system requirements, to design and develop the system, to validate the system, to implement the system. As methodology in collecting data, primary data will be collected by using interview as well as questionnaire. And secondary data will be collected by read and study the different documents of existing systems. The following is the flowchart of the system, where it shows the conditions and action to be done, all based on the darkness existing, if there is existing darkness in the room, and if there is a movement detected in the room, the conditions and action will be taken. The system design will consist, of course, a microcontroller, which will be connect the lights, motion sense, relay, twilight, and the cloud, which will store the data of the system. As expected, the outcomes, if the system will be developed, there will be no wastage of electricity. Electricity will be economized, and there will be the decrease of the personnel, as the technician who will be always able to pass it to check if there is the right wastage turned on, and there is no damage of materials such as switch we normally use. Some stakeholders will be universities, colleges, hostels, and hospitals. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Mr. Rutikangamon. As you have seen, this workshop is like a cycle. We have started by saying what we have, what can we do, and now we are entering really into the artificial mechanism or advanced or digital mechanisms to use so that we can choose what we have said. So now, everything that we have seen, the e-payment, the all artificial or digital activities have been developed, but now we are going to see what challenges and the ethical aspect of those artificial intelligence in Rwandan basic education. This is the topic to be presented by Ntakirutimana Emmanuel. Please, welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Ntakirutimana, as has been said. I have conducted a study indicating the challenges and the ethical aspect in Rwandan basic education, where we consider that all those challenges that we are meeting in our studies, mostly they are rooted from the basic education. So when you look how students are studying nowadays, they meet various challenges. Someone is going, can go down with the introduction quickly? Normally, the artificial intelligence, it is taken as a part of science which aimed to stimulate the human intelligence processes, where the student becomes very active and they find out the solutions. However, of course, the challenges may come. We are indicating that educational system from that have take capacity of containing all kinds of education data, tracking, analysis, student performance, like artificial intelligence. This comes to support the student, of course, to work at their own and find the solution themselves. Therefore, the introduction of artificial intelligence major courses at higher level, of course, they have been advanced and produced graduates where instead of starting or being advanced in a basic education, where in Rwanda, as have been said, we take that basic education as from pre-primary, primary, and secondary education. That is the basic education here in Rwanda. So when you go down, I want to talk about very quick with the rationale. Rationale of this study, as have been said, when you look that those challenges and those ethical aspects to be developed, mostly they came from the teachers who are not prepared. In mostly to adopt the student to be cooperative with this new educational system as competency-based curriculum that have been implemented nowadays. So that lack of being prepared among teachers, it has been an issue of digital illiteracy among them. So in the case that the issue is there, the challenges start being there among students. This also creates achievement gap in Rwanda basic education and education system as a whole, due to that poor implementation of new educational system. Therefore, this study will help educational planners and stakeholders to find out the challenges of educational aspects associated with the implementation of artificial intelligence in education. And then, teachers also will find out various mitigation measures to improve their digital literacy in their daily teaching activities, as have been said, that it has been realized that mostly teachers are not aware of equipping students that artificial intelligence among their students so that they get ready to develop or find out the possible solutions in their daily learning activities. So in terms of objectives, the number one, it was to indicate the challenges of artificial intelligence education. Number two, to identify the ethical aspects of artificial intelligence education. Three, it was to establish the mitigation measures to improve artificial intelligence education. Of course, that is from those challenges have been said above. When you come up with the methodology, of course, purposive and probability sampling technique was used to select the participant, which were given the structured questionnaire as data collection tool, and also descriptive statistics and thematic approach were used to analyze both quantitative and qualitative data. Here we involved both quantitative and qualitative to express or to help the respondents to express themselves how those challenges may be realized and the measures could be taken. Figures charts were also used to present the obtained findings. Let me start with the challenges, of course, that have been highlighted. When you come, the major problems here we are finding the job losers problem. When you look at here, in various countries, not only Rwanda, we are finding people who are graduating, but they don't get found their own job. Why? Because maybe they're having an issue of finding themselves what could be the solution for their problems. We have also the trust-related problems, and then the computational problem. How can you manage the problem? And then the support problem. How can now achieve the problem? Let us go down. We are also finding that again those challenges, one of them, it comes from the resistance to implement artificial intelligence. We are finding various schools in Rwanda, mostly in the basic education, where some teachers are still focusing on the older version of teaching, which is knowledge-based curriculum here, instead of implementing the competency-based curriculum, where the student becomes very active to participate and find out the solutions while learning. There is also achievement gap in education based on socioeconomic groups. When you come, not only in Rwanda, but also in various countries in Africa and outside, we are finding education mostly it is affected by the socioeconomic status of the families, whereby the student or children coming from the rich family get better educated than those from rich family, so that the opportunity of finding out the possible solution is to search out the problems that can hinder the education comes in. There is unprepared teaching for artificial intelligence. We have said that the teachers mostly, some of them, they are not ready to implement such artificial intelligence, and also technological infrastructures, as well as inadequate government expenditures in education. When it comes as not only Rwanda and outside the countries, when you compare the budget allocation based on the education, we are finding that some countries, the budget it is still low, instead of enhancing that budget to improve or to overcome those problems. Qualitatively, the respondents revealed that the curriculum transaction, how the curriculum prepared, have been transacted to students. Of course, that is the problem that have been realized from those teachers who are not prepared. We are also indicating the culture and the religions of some countries. When you come, when the curriculum implementation comes in, we are finding out some schools that are based on the religion and the culture, resistant to change mindset. Mostly you have based on the teachers who are still based on the old version of teaching instead of focusing on competency-based curriculum. So those were suggested as the challenges. We can go also down to the ethical aspects that can be taken as artificial intelligent education, where we need, we have suggested the cultural integration instead of being a challenges. We have seen that in case we have integrated the culture, where it was scaled on 33%, as the largest scale among those ethical could be implemented. There is accountability, where this indicator was indicated by the respondents, saying that if each teacher is accountable to what is being done, that problem of being unprepared could be overcome and the solution comes in. We are also finding the security and the fairness, equity and affordability, whereby we have seen that we are still finding the gap associated on the cost or the budget distribution in the educational sector, which is a problem. Also, those can be one of the solutions also to overcome those challenges or the problems that can affect artificial intelligence. We also needed to find out personally how the respondents are getting their views based on those ethical issues or aspect. That is what we call humanity, singularity, authentication and profitability, personal interest as investment, when take and humanitarian and solidarity, when take into consideration is could also be taken as ethical aspect that could be associated with artificial intelligence in education. We also suggested some measures that could be taken also to overcome again those challenges that can reduce the finding out or enhancing artificial intelligence, mostly in Rwanda basic education. We are saying that when we ensure inclusive and equitable use of artificial intelligence in education could be one of the solutions. Leverage of artificial intelligence to enhance education and learning could also be one of the major. Promote skills development for job and drive in the artificial intelligence era. This point it was been coming, of course, to find out or to solve the problem associated with finding out jobs, mostly to the graduates. It was find out mostly it is rooted from how or the way they are learning when they are still in schools. Safeguard transparency and the auditable use of educational data. Mostly when students are learning, what they are learning are mostly published. But the problem is how they use the data published that could help them to expand their knowledge and find out also or find out the solutions that could help them to achieve what they are supposed to achieve. Concludingly, this study, of course, has been investigated the challenges and the ethical aspect of artificial intelligence education. It has been realized that the fragile technological infrastructures, inadequate governmental expenditures in education, achievement gap, education based on socioeconomic groups, resistant to implement educational, artificial intelligence education because of fear to be replaced by the artificial intelligence education and prepare the teachers for artificial intelligence implementation were also based on to be the major challenges of making effective implementation of artificial intelligence. Cultural integration, accountability, fairness, equity and affordability, security and privacy were considered to be ethical aspects of artificial intelligence education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Najutimana Emmanuel. So, the topic presentation. So, I would like to welcome the audience, researchers, and even presenters may have observation, recommendations, or comments, even questions about the topic presented. Then this is your time, and I will come. Thank you. Anyone in the audience who have a comment?
Yeah, thank you. I have one or two questions for a very presenter here. I am going to start with Father Lucien. The first question is about how do you relate the circular economy and the green economy? Then the second one's about, I've been talking about this project. Now I want to know specifically what will be the end result of this project. For the presenter number 2, Roberto, the topic was quite good, that's right. We have been talking about the bioengineering. It is a wide science discipline, but I want to know what are the specific agricultural practices that may be used to control landslide in the context of our country. As you know, I have many practices like regenerative agriculture, agroecology, agroforestry. Specifically, what are the best one? The second is about farming systems which is being used here in Rwanda. As you know, we are a small country, which means that we are facing the problems related to the shortage of land, and all lands are being cultivated. Now, I'm wondering how or what the best farming system that may be used that can help to contribute to the landslide. Because as you know, when you cultivate the land every year, every season, sometimes the infiltration of water cannot be possible. That's why the landslide is somehow found in the different corners of the country. Now, what is the best farming system that can be used? We have been talking about radical terracing, it's okay, but when you look at how it is being shaped, we can't find, for example, trees on those terraces. And I think if we adopt such kind of planting, for example, agroforest or applying agroforest system, that can be good to control the landslide. The presenter number 3, Alessandro, geomorphology. Now I want, it is about one question. With principles of geomorphology, how can we improve our farming systems in Rwanda? I am an agronomist. That's why I'm asking the question related to agriculture. With principles of geomorphology, how can we improve our farming systems? Bitcoin for Alexi. I think in Rwanda, this system of economy is not maybe it is not allowed to be used. What will you suggest today, maybe the leaders of our country, to adopt it? Presenter number 5, Emma, you have been talking about groundwater. Yes, you have been talking about groundwater. Now, in Rwanda, the government is promoting the use of chemicals, intensive use of chemicals, in terms of fertilizers, pesticides. And as you have explained, we have to protect our groundwater now. How can we protect or avoid the pollution of the groundwater in our country? Because while using those chemicals, as you know, our farming system sometimes promotes or contributes to a runoff in the water, go to the rivers, lakes, and so on, and the water is somehow polluted. Now, I'm wondering, what would you suggest us to, or the government leaders of Rwanda, to protect the groundwater? Presenter number 6, Yvonne. The automatic irrigation system, it's okay, it's fine. I was asking myself, if this one, this technology, the end result of this technology will it be designed for informing the farmer who is using the greenhouse, or that's one to be to learn itself. The farmer will not be used. You have to install it in the greenhouse. Then, when the water is, after seeing that the water is not enough, it will going to run itself, or the farmer has to come and just start using it to irrigate his greenhouse or high greenhouse. The presenter number. Yeah, the next one. Yeah. Only two questions. On two questions. Yes. Yeah. For Fabian, we need to talk about the local homemade biofertilizers. The local homemade biofertilizers, even biopesticide. For the next one, with Mungu, this e-payment system can be adopted for rural markets. Is it possible? Then, for electrical application, this will be an application, or it will be a hard tool. For the last one, it's just about, I'm asking myself, why do you say artificial intelligence, not natural intelligence? Artificial and natural. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, dear Isaac, for the questions, many questions that you asked. I appreciate, first of all, that you have followed all the presentations. That is very important. And I can also appreciate others if they have followed all conferences and have also prepared some questions to ask to presenters. That is very important. And this is also the aim of the workshop. However, as the Vice Chancellor said, because you don't have enough time, we have the Senate meeting, which will start in a few time, if I can say. I can suggest this way. Indeed, I appreciate Isaac because he opens to us another way of working or of continuing our workshop. As you know, this workshop is on YouTube, and under YouTube, you will find where you can ask a question and you can respond. So I am inviting not only people who are here, even those who are following us remotely, to write the questions on YouTube, and all presenters, we are invited to follow those who are asking us the questions, and we respond them on YouTube, and this will be a virtual workshop. I don't know if I make understanding my idea. So those who are here and those who are following remotely, we are going to continue on YouTube in order to ask questions and to respond to questions. That means that even those who are asked the questions by Isaac, they can respond even after on YouTube. And Isaac also can continue to ask other questions, not only him, even others. I think that this methodology can arrange us in managing the time. However, for me, I have to respond to his questions, but others, they can respond on YouTube. And we are taking, isn't it better? So, yes. And we are going also to invite our students to ask other questions on YouTube to follow what they have not followed, because YouTube will continue to run, and they ask the questions and they will respond. So it will be like a lesson which continue. And our professors, our dear professors from Paruma, will continue to teach us and to teach our students. So he asked the question related to green economy. Green economy, normally it is, in a few words, it is the economy which has the aim to protect environment. This is a green economy in a few words. So he asked the difference between a green economy and a circular economy. Circular economy can be wider than green economy. Green economy, the purpose is to protect environment. Circular economy, it is to go beyond and to generate income from that activity or from that objective of green economy. Responding to that immediately, also I tackle on the second question where you asked the end result of the project that I presented as a sub-center of the big center of agriculture and gastronomy. For this circular economy, as I said, first of all, there is to increase income, and to teach institutions to benefit from the waste. This is the result, good result, to increase or to generate income from the waste normally that we don't benefit. Secondly, I talked about employability. Employability because when you are opening the opportunity that generates income, it means that you are also creating jobs to people. So two are results of this sub-center or this project, employability and income generation. Thank you very much. I think with this, in order to manage the time, maybe we can continue, as I said, using our tool YouTube and invite, if possible, if you allow me, invite only one from Parma to say something on questions or comments or remarks, and then Vice Chancellor will close with his remarks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. On behalf of also my colleagues Alessandro and Emma, we appreciated a lot this conference and also the interest coming from the participants, but we also appreciate the proposal coming from Father Lucien to continue online, because some questions are very interesting and they need much more time to respond, and if we want to go in depth. So we will have a much more possibility to connect to the YouTube channel and to respond to each question. So we will to respond. We took notes about those interesting questions, and we will respond online. Okay, Isaac. And we also have some questions for you. So we will follow the same. Okay. Because I have a question for Yvonne, a question for the last presentation, and for some of them. So we can continue. Thank you.
So dear presenters, dear researchers, on my behalf, I thank you and take this time to have an honor to welcome the Vice Chancellor of University of Technology and Art of Byumba for the closing remarks of this workshop. Please welcome.
Dear Professor Roberto, dear Professors Celi and Petrula, our guests, dear colleagues, presenters, participants to this workshop, let me thank everyone who is here and who is following us. I cannot summarize the so rich and variant contribution offered in today's international workshop, but allow me emphasize some points I noted. After Father Lucien, we have to think about different techniques and technologies in the waste management, not only for making clean our spaces, our homes, our industries, our living space, but also for increasing our finance. And UTAB, Center of Agriculture and Gastronomy, will have a subunity about waste management. We are funding the Center of Agriculture and Gastronomy, which will have this subunity of waste management. Professor Roberto talked about soil and slope stabilization, which kind of system to stabilize our soil when we know, for example, how is the morphology of our hills and of our mountains in Rwanda and specifically in Byumba. How to find a sustainable solution of erosion and other phenomena taking our soil. Thank you, Professor Roberto, for giving us advice, for example, to re-evaluate if our system of terraces is yet effective or not. Professor Chelly, soil erosion, that is the issue here today in our country. The geomorphological perspective. Thank you to enhance our awareness, to observe our hills, to observe our mountains and other geographical and geological phenomena for knowing, for example, different techniques to protect our earth, our land against erosion. Mr. Alexis told about the importance of blockchain technology for our future in different domain, banks, health, etc. Thank you, Alexis. We need to know more about this topic, of course, how blockchain is more than cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Thank you to give an introduction about this topic. Professor Petrila, first of all, we are sorry for what happened. This technical issue which stopped your intervention, so sorry. So why groundwater is so important and easy to protect? Of course, the answer in some words for our agriculture, for our industries. Groundwater, she said, is valuable natural resource we have. It has to be protected. Miss Yvonne Radukund, automatic irrigation system for greenhouse. Thank you, Yvonne, to tell us how many we need a green space here in UTAB, in Rwanda, a green agriculture, a green garden between our buildings. Of course, you know, if I connect with context, we need more greenhouses, more than 2 we have, at least for basic studies. For basic, we have a faculty of agriculture, but when I see 2 greenhouses, I ask myself what we are doing. Mr. Fabian, microbial and biofertilizer. Thank you for this topic, which is very important for agriculture. We have this faculty. You have to enter deep. And Bizimungu, Mr. Bizimungu, e-payment, the benefit of e-payment. Of course, we have to begin here in UTAB using this e-payment. So how do we do it? Yeah, you see, I am seeing ICT director, I'm seeing DCS in charge of finance. So we have 7,000 students. Can we pay as we did in the past, we have to think about for being pragmatic. Mr. Of electricity and to control, for example, some movements of people near or in our home. Yeah, that's a good thing for the protection of even our buildings, of our activities, but also for minimize the cost of electricity. Thank you, Mr. Nhakirutimana Emmanuel, about challenges and ethical aspects of artificial intelligence in Rwandan basic education. This AI could help in teaching and learning after that traditional system. But it is important to be aware of ethical issues of usage of digital techniques in basic educations. Dear Professor Roberto, dear guests, dear colleagues, thank you for this day. Thank you to organizers. Thank you, participants. And I declare closed this sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, each and everyone who participated. There is no additional information at the end of the closing remarks. Now what I would like to remind is that the discipline that we consider in Rwanda as a crucial issue, we will wait for the distinguished guest to pass first, and we will take a group photo down there where Father Dr. Rusian will show us. So please follow considerably, and I thank you.
change.